The warning appeared on every screen aboard the Eternal Horizon at exactly the same moment. Captain, a tall with silver skin and 4 arms, stared at the display with growing concern. His ship had just crossed into a region of space that no living being had entered in over 8,000 galactic cycles. The barrier that surrounded the Sol system was unlike anything in the known galaxy. It shimmered at the edge of his sensors, a wall of energy that bent light and warped space itself. Ancient technology, far older than the Galactic Council, far older than even the oldest known civilizations. And now, after standing strong, it was finally weakening. "Captain, the readings are confirmed," said X, the science officer. She was her blue tentacles dancing with excitement as she studied the data. "The barrier has degraded by 47% in the last cycle alone. We can breach it safely now." Did not share her enthusiasm. He had spent 3 decades exploring the galaxy, and he had learned one important lesson. When the ancients sealed something away, they usually had a very good reason. "Pull up the council records again," he ordered. "Everything we have on this system." Commander, the military officer assigned to their mission, crossed his thick arms. He was built like a mountain with scales that could deflect plasma fire. "We have reviewed the records 17 times, Captain. There is nothing new to find." "Then we will review them 18 times, replied calmly. The records were frustratingly brief. The Sol system had been quarantined during something called the Great Purge, a dark period in galactic history when entire civilizations had been wiped out. The details of what happened were lost to time. Wars, plagues, and the collapse of the old order had destroyed most historical archives. Only one notation remained in the file, written in a language so ancient that the translation software struggled with it. The words finally appeared on the screen. "Catastrophic potential. Containment absolute, never disturb." X waved a tentacle dismissively. "That was written 8,000 cycles ago. Whatever threat existed then is surely extinct now. The scans show a thriving civilization on the 3rd planet, billions of life signs, active technology. They have survived whatever plague or danger once existed here." "Or they are the danger," said quietly. Snorted, "Their technology level barely registers on our scale. They have primitive satellites and chemical propulsion. They have not even left their own planet properly. What threat could they possibly pose?" That was a good question. The Galactic Council was desperate for new resources, new worlds to settle. The population was growing faster than available space. When the barrier around Sol began to fail, the Council had seen an opportunity. 5 habitable planets in one system, including a beautiful blue world teeming with life. The Council had voted to authorize exploration. Only 3 members had voted against it, had read their reasoning carefully. They were historians, scholars who studied the ancient texts. They believed the warnings should be respected, even if the reasons for them were lost. But 15 members had voted in favor. Resources mattered more than ancient paranoia. "Beginning barrier penetration," announced the pilot, a young named Ash. "All systems stable." The Eternal Horizon pushed through the weakened barrier like a blade through cloth. The energy field resisted, then parted. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as the ship's systems adjusted to the strange readings inside the barrier. "We are through," Ash reported. "All systems normal, entering the Sol system now." Studied his displays carefully. The system had 8 major planets and countless smaller bodies. The 3rd planet from the Sun, the one with all the life signs, was visible on the long-range sensors. It was beautiful. Swirls of white clouds over blue oceans and green-brown landmasses. City lights sparkled on the night side. Radio transmissions filled the electromagnetic spectrum, thousands of different frequencies broadcasting music, voices, and data. "They call it Earth," X said, reading the decoded transmissions. "The dominant species calls themselves humans." "Dominant species?" raised an eyebrow ridge. "You mean there are others?" "No, just one sapient species, but they share their world with millions of other life forms. The biodiversity is incredible. Earth appears to be what they call a high-gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators, toxic plants, yet life thrives there." Felt a chill run through his body. Survivors. That explained how they had endured for so long in isolation. Species from harsh worlds tended to be resilient, adaptable, and very hard to kill. "Captain, we have a problem," Ash said suddenly. "Automated defense platforms are powering up. dozens of them scattered throughout the inner system. The screens showed satellites, ancient and worn but clearly still functional. They were moving, orienting toward the eternal horizon. Weapon ports were opening. "Are they targeting us?" demanded, moving toward the weapons console. "No," Ash said. "They are broadcasting. Multiple frequencies, multiple languages. Wait, the translation software is processing it." The message came through, first as static, then as clear words. The voice was artificial, generated by a computer, but the warning was unmistakable. "Turn back, the sleepers must not be disturbed. What was buried must remain buried. This is your only warning, turn back now." The bridge fell silent, even looked uncertain. "Sleepers," X said. "What sleepers? The humans are clearly awake and active." Studied the message again. It had been broadcast in 73 different languages, including several dead tongues from civilizations that had fallen thousands of years ago. Whoever built these satellites had wanted to make absolutely certain their warning was understood. "The message is old," said, recovering his confidence. "Probably automated defense systems from whatever civilization lived here before the humans. The current inhabitants might not even know about it." Or, said slowly, "the humans are not the ones sleeping." Before anyone could respond, the sensors detected new activity on Earth itself. Energy spikes across the planet, all focused on their location. The humans had detected them. "We are being scanned," Ash reported. "Multiple sources, military installations, research facilities, orbital stations. They know we are here." "Good," said. "Then we can begin diplomatic contact. The Council authorized us to make peaceful first contact if we encountered intelligent life." Wanted to order a retreat. Every instinct he had developed over 3 decades of exploration was screaming at him to leave this system immediately. But the Council had given clear orders. Investigate, make contact, assess the potential for integration into galactic society. "Prepare a diplomatic probe," he ordered reluctantly. "Standard first contact package, mathematics, universal constants, images of our worlds, make it clear we come in peace." "Finally, some action," said with satisfaction. As the crew prepared, the probe could not shake his growing sense of dread. The ancient warning echoed in his mind. What was buried must remain buried. The alarm started at 3 in the morning, Geneva time. Director Brandon Fletcher was already awake, staring at the data feeds from the orbital monitoring stations. He had been awake for 2 days straight, ever since the first sensors had detected the weakening of the barrier. The barrier? Humanity had known about it for over 200 years, ever since the first deep space probes had reached the edge of the solar system and simply stopped working. Every probe sent beyond a certain point failed. Every signal sent out vanished into silence. Earth was in a box, and something was keeping them there. Now the box was opening, and something was coming in. "Director, the probe has entered atmosphere," said Colonel Price, head of Earth Defense Forces. He stood at attention beside Brandon's desk, his gray uniform crisp despite the early hour. "It will land in Switzerland in approximately 12 minutes. "Have you assembled the security team?" Brandon asked. "Yes, sir, but I recommend we shoot it down before it lands. We know nothing about these aliens. This could be an attack." Brandon shook his head. "If they wanted to attack, they would have done so already. Their ship has enough firepower to destroy our orbital stations with a single shot. No, they are here to talk, and we need to be ready to listen." He stood and walked to the window. Geneva was still dark, but lights were coming on across the city as news of the alien contact spread. The world had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every major nation had protocols for first contact. They had rehearsed, planned, and theorized. But now that it was actually happening, Brandon felt completely unprepared. His phone rang. Dr. Lisa Morgan, chief and head of the First Contact Task Force. "Brandon, I am at the landing site," Lisa said, her voice tense with excitement and fear. "The probe is beautiful, strange symbols on the hull broadcasting in over 200 languages. They are asking for peaceful dialogue." "Any threats?" "None. They seem genuinely curious about us. But Brandon, there is something odd in their transmissions. They keep asking about our history. Specifically, they want to know about our archaeological records and geological surveys." Brandon frowned. Why would they care about our archaeology? "I do not know, but it feels wrong, like they are looking for something specific." The probe landed in a field outside Geneva, watched by 100 cameras and twice as many armed soldiers. It was a small silver sphere, smooth and seamless. No visible weapons, no threatening gestures. After an hour of scanning and analysis, a team in protective suits approached it. A hologram projected from the sphere. 3 alien figures appeared, each from a different species. The tallest had silver skin and 4 arms. The second was covered in blue tentacles. The third was massive and scaled. The silver one spoke, and the probe translated his words into English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of 600 civilized species. We have come in peace to offer you friendship and a place among the stars." Brandon watched the hologram on his screen. The words were friendly, but something about the way the alien held himself suggested uncertainty, maybe even fear. "We have many questions," the alien continued. "But first we must know, are you the original inhabitants of this world, or did you arrive here after the barrier was established?" Lisa looked at the camera, confused. Brandon understood immediately. The aliens thought humanity might be colonists, refugees who had settled on Earth after the quarantine began. "Respond truthfully," Brandon ordered through the comm link. "Tell them we evolved here." Lisa nodded and spoke to the hologram. "We are native to Earth. Our species evolved here over millions of years. We have always been here." The aliens exchanged glances. The silver one looked troubled. "Always? Then you have no memory of the time before the barrier." "We did not know about the barrier until 200 years ago," Lisa explained. "Our history goes back thousands of years, but we have no records of any barrier or quarantine." The blue-tentacled alien spoke excitedly. "Fascinating, a complete cultural reset. They truly do not remember." "Remember what?" Lisa asked. The aliens did not answer. Instead, they began asking questions about Earth's history, geology, and ancient ruins. They wanted to know about every archaeological site, every ancient structure, every place where humanity had dug deep into the Earth. Brandon felt his unease growing. He called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Coalition, bringing together leaders from every nation. Within 2 hours, they were assembled in the secure conference room, watching the alien transmission together. "They are looking for something," said Chancellor Wei from the Asian Federation. "Something buried on our world." "But what?" asked President Martinez from the Americas Union. "We have explored every continent. What could be hidden that we have not found?" Brandon had an idea, but it was so impossible that he hesitated to speak it aloud. Finally, he said, "We need to check the classified archives, the old ones from before the United Earth Coalition, the ones sealed during the Unification Wars." Looked at him sharply. "Director, those archives are sealed for a reason. They contain information from a very dark period in human history." "I know," Brandon said, "but we need to see them now." It took 4 hours to access the archives. They were stored in a vault beneath the old United Nations building in New York, protected by 3 layers of security and a level of classification that even Brandon's clearance barely reached. What they found made no sense at first. Fragmented reports from over 300 years ago, when Earth was still divided into warring nations. Military documents about deep excavations, strange energy readings, and facilities that had been sealed and buried. Then they found the video file. It was old, the quality poor, but the image was clear enough. A massive underground chamber, carved from solid rock. Technology that looked nothing like anything human, yet somehow familiar. And words etched into the wall in dozens of languages, including English. "We were the fire that nearly burned the galaxy. We choose to become the ash so that one day we might grow again as something better. Let this power sleep until wisdom wakes it. Forgive us for what we were. Remember us for what we chose to become." The room fell silent as the video ended. "What does that mean?" President Martinez whispered. Lisa was studying her tablet, her face pale. "I ran a linguistic analysis on the writing, the style, the grammar structure. It matches human languages, but ancient ones, pre-unification era, and the technology in that chamber. The energy signature matches the barrier around our solar system." Brandon felt the pieces falling into place, forming a picture that was both incredible and terrifying. "We built the barrier," he said slowly. "Humanity built it, we sealed ourselves away." "That is impossible," said. We barely have functional fusion drives. We cannot build something that spans an entire solar system. We cannot now, Lisa said. But what if we could once? What if humanity was once far more advanced than we are today? She pulled up more files from the archive. Reports of excavations finding technology that predated known human civilization. Weapons that should not exist. Ships that had been buried for thousands of years beneath the ice and sand. There are sites like this all over the world, Lisa said. We always thought they were just anomalies, mistakes in dating. But what if they are not? What if humanity deliberately buried its own technology and started over? The implication was staggering. Humanity had once been a spacefaring civilization. Something had happened, something terrible enough that they chose to give it all up. They buried their technology, erased their history, and started fresh. And now, after of isolation, the secret was about to be exposed. The aliens know, Brandon said. Or at least they suspect. That is why they are asking about our archaeological sites. They are looking for proof. Proof of what? Chancellor Wei asked. That we are the precursors, Lisa said quietly. Every species in the galaxy has legends about them, the ancient ones who came before, the civilizations so advanced that they made the laws of physics bend. They vanished 8,000 years ago at the same time the barrier around Earth appeared. Stood abruptly. If the aliens believe we are the precursors, they will either worship us or fear us. Neither option is good. Brandon looked at the faces around the table. Fear, confusion, and wonder mixed together. Captain stood on Earth's surface for the first time and felt his world shift. The gravity was heavy, the atmosphere thick with moisture and strange scents. But it was not the physical environment that unsettled him. It was the humans themselves. They looked so ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin with no natural armor. They were small compared to most galactic species, fragile-looking. Yet when Brandon Fletcher extended his hand in greeting, saw something in the human's eyes that made him pause. A depth, an intelligence that felt ancient despite the human's young appearance. "Welcome to Earth, Captain," Brandon said, his voice calm and measured. "We are honored to meet you." The greeting ceremony was held in Geneva in a building the humans called the Unity Hall. Hundreds of humans watched from a distance, held back by security forces. They looked curious and excited, waving and calling out friendly greetings. Not afraid, not hostile, just genuinely happy to meet aliens for the first time. X was delighted. She moved through the crowd, tentacles waving, asking questions about human biology and culture. The humans answered patiently, even the children who wanted to touch her blue skin. But Commander was not socializing. He stood apart, his sharp eyes scanning the buildings around them, knew what he was looking at. The foundations. The humans had built their cities on top of something much older. Their archaeological specialist had been scanning since they landed. He was a species with natural sensitivity to energy patterns. He approached quietly. "Captain, the readings are impossible to ignore," said his voice low. "Beneath this city, there are structures that predate human civilization by thousands of years. The energy signatures match precursor technology." "Are you certain?" asked. "Absolutely. Captain, I think the humans are living on top of precursor ruins. They might not even know what is beneath their feet." But was beginning to suspect that the humans knew exactly what was beneath their feet. He watched Brandon Fletcher carefully during the diplomatic discussions. The human director was too calm, too careful with his words. He answered every question politely but revealed very little. When asked about Earth's technological development, Brandon gave a smooth response about humanity's focus on sustainability and peaceful advancement. When X asked about ancient history, Brandon mentioned scattered archaeological sites but nothing specific. It was Dr. Lisa Morgan who caught full attention. The human was brilliant, asking questions about galactic biology and culture with genuine curiosity. But when casually mentioned precursor technology, Lisa's expression changed for just a moment. Recognition, concern. Then it was gone, replaced by polite interest. "She knows," thought they all know. While the diplomatic meetings continued on the surface, Lisa had a different mission. She traveled to Antarctica with a small team, using the alien visit as cover. The site had been sealed for over a century, buried beneath 3 kilometers of ice. Price went with her along with 6 soldiers and 2 engineers. They descended into the ice using thermal drills, following coordinates from the classified archives. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, untouched for thousands of years. The vault was enormous, walls of seamless metal that did not rust or corrode, symbols etched in patterns that seemed to shift when Lisa looked at them, and in the center, a sphere of dark material that absorbed all light. "What is that?" asked, his hand on his weapon. "I think it is an artificial intelligence," Lisa said. She approached slowly, her scanner reading energy patterns that should not be possible. "Hello, can you understand me?" The sphere pulsed with light. Then a voice spoke, clear and human, speaking English with an accent that sounded ancient. "Descendant recognized, DNA markers confirmed, authorization accepted. Welcome, children of Earth. I am Sentinel Protocol 7. The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Lisa felt her legs go weak. This was real. All of it was real. "You are precursor technology?" she asked. "I am human technology," the AI corrected. "Created 8,342 years ago by the Scientific Council of Unified Humanity. My purpose is to preserve knowledge and awaken when the time is right." "Is the time right now?" "The barrier has failed. Non-human intelligence has entered the Sol system. The conditions for awakening have been met, initiating knowledge transfer." Before Lisa could ask what that meant, the sphere released a pulse of energy. It washed over her and the team, and suddenly Lisa's mind was flooded with images, memories, knowledge that was not hers but felt familiar anyway. She saw Earth as it once was, cities that touched the clouds, ships that could cross the galaxy in days, humans working alongside aliens, trading and learning. She saw the discovery that changed everything, the moment when human scientists realized that their brains worked differently than other species. Human neural plasticity was unique. Where other species specialized, humans adapted. Where others followed rules, humans. And when humans learned to interface directly with quantum fields, they discovered they could perceive and manipulate probability itself. Humanity had become powerful, perhaps too powerful. They could think their way through problems that took other species centuries to solve. They could adapt alien technology instantly, understanding it at a fundamental level. They became the teachers, the protectors, the problem solvers. But power without wisdom is dangerous. Lisa saw the war. Not all humans had been wise. A faction had grown arrogant, believing that humanity's gifts made them superior. They tried to control other species to force their solutions on problems they did not understand. The galaxy pushed back. War erupted. Humans were powerful, but they were few. The galaxy was vast. The war nearly destroyed everything. In the end, the humans who remained made a choice. They could keep fighting, using their power to dominate, or they could give up everything and start over. They chose to start over. The humans built the barrier themselves, a quantum field that would seal Earth away from the galaxy. They buried their technology deep beneath the surface, in vaults scattered across the planet. They used genetic engineering to lock away the parts of human DNA that gave them their unique abilities. Then they erased their own history and began again, as primitive tribes with no memory of the stars. "We chose to forget," the AI said as the visions faded. "Because we needed to learn wisdom before we could be trusted with power again. We buried our strength so that we could build our character." Lisa staggered, overwhelmed by what she had seen, caught her arm, his face pale. He had seen it too. They all had. "Why show us this now?" demanded. "Because the galaxy needs you again," the AI said. "The threat we barely contained 8,000 years ago is returning. The Void Fleet. They are approaching from dark space, drawn by the barrier's failure. Only humans can stop them." "We are not the humans you knew," Lisa said. "We do not have those powers anymore. We are just ordinary people." "The power was never in your technology," the AI said gently. "It was always in your minds, in your ability to see solutions where others see only problems, in your refusal to give up, in your creativity and compassion. These things were not buried. They are still within you, waiting to be remembered." Above the ice was conducting unauthorized scans. He had detected the energy signature from the vault and followed it without telling anyone. What he found confirmed his worst fears. There were structures like this all over the planet. Dozens of them, hundreds, all connected by a network that spanned the entire world, all containing technology that could reshape reality itself. He sent his findings directly to Commander. The military commander read the report with growing alarm. Then he made a decision. He contacted the Galactic Council fleet, calling for reinforcements. 20 warships responded, jumping into the Sol system within hours. Brandon received the news while still in the middle of diplomatic talks. He excused himself and stepped outside, where was waiting with Lisa. "They know," said simply. "The aliens found evidence of the vaults. They have called in warships." "Can we fight them?" Brandon asked. "We could," said slowly. "The defense systems in the vaults are active now. I accessed the command network. With a single thought, I could activate weapons that would destroy their entire fleet without harming a single person. I could disable their ships, send them drifting harmlessly in space. The technology is that precise." "But you have not activated them," Brandon said. "No, because the moment I do, we prove we are exactly what they fear. Powerful beings hiding among the weak. They will never trust us." Lisa spoke up. "We need to tell them the truth, all of it. Yes, we are the precursors. Yes, we have incredible power buried beneath our world. But we chose to give it up because we understood that power without wisdom leads to destruction." Brandon looked at the sky, where alien warships now circled the planet. Humanity stood at a crossroads. They could hide the truth and hope to survive through deception. They could fight and prove themselves as dangerous as the ancient legends claimed, or they could do something no one expected. They could choose honesty. "Contact all human networks," Brandon said. "Every news station, every social media platform, every communication system on the planet. I am going to address the world, and then I am going to address the galaxy." An hour later, Brandon Fletcher stood before cameras that broadcast to billions of humans and hundreds of aliens. He looked tired but resolute. "People of Earth, representatives of the Galactic Council, I have something to tell you, something that will change everything we thought we knew about ourselves." The broadcast played on every screen across Earth and was transmitted to the 20 Galactic Council warships orbiting the planet. Brandon Fletcher's voice was steady as he revealed what humanity had discovered in the ancient vaults. "We are the precursors," he said simply. 8,000 years ago, our ancestors possessed technology and abilities that made them powerful beyond imagination. They could manipulate quantum fields with their minds. They could solve problems that took other species centuries to understand. They were teachers and protectors to the entire galaxy. He paused, letting the words sink in. But power corrupted some of them. A war erupted that nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. In the end, the humans who remained made a choice. They sealed themselves away from the stars. They buried their technology. They erased their own history and started over as primitive tribes with no memory of what they had been. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, watched the broadcast in silence. His suspicions confirmed. The gentle, friendly humans were the same species that had once made the galaxy tremble. Commander slammed his fist on the console. "I knew it. They have been deceiving us from the beginning. They are dangerous." "Listen to what he is saying," said quietly. Brandon continued his speech. "We buried our power because we understood an important truth. Strength without wisdom is destruction. Technology without ethics is catastrophe. We chose to give up everything we had built so that we could become something better. Not more powerful, just better." He looked directly at the camera, as if speaking to each person individually. "To the people of Earth, I know this is shocking. You have just learned that we are descended from beings of incredible power. But do not let that change who you are. Our ancestors chose to become ordinary because they understood that true greatness is not in what you can do, but in what you choose to do. They buried their strength so we could build our character." Then Brandon turned his attention to the aliens. "To the representatives of the Galactic Council, I understand your fear. You have just learned that the species you thought was primitive and harmless is actually the one from your oldest nightmares. I will not lie to you. We could activate the technology buried beneath our world. We could destroy your fleet without harming a single person. We have that capability." Aboard the warships, weapon systems powered up, shields activated, every commander prepared for war. "But we will not do that," Brandon said. "Because we are not our ancestors. We have spent 8,000 years learning to be better than they were. We will not use our power to threaten or dominate. We offer you a choice. If our presence in the galaxy frightens you, we will remain isolated. We will rebuild the barrier and seal ourselves away again." He leaned forward, his voice filled with quiet conviction. "Or you can trust us. Not because we are powerful, but because we have proven we can control that power. We chose wisdom over strength once before. We are making that choice again now. The broadcast ended. Silence filled the ships and cities across two worlds. Then the communication channels exploded with activity. On Earth, people were experiencing something unexpected. The knowledge transfer from the vaults had begun spreading, not just to Lisa's team, but to humans all over the planet. The ancient DNA locks were breaking. People were remembering things they had never learned. A teacher in Tokyo suddenly understood quantum mechanics at a fundamental level and started drawing equations on her board that solved problems scientists had struggled with for decades. An engineer in Lagos looked at a broken water treatment plant and instantly saw 17 ways to fix it using principles he had never studied. A child in Seattle stared at the stars and knew with absolute certainty the exact distance to each one. The abilities were returning, not because of technology, but because they had always been there, locked away in human DNA, waiting for the moment when humanity was ready to use them responsibly. Dr. Lisa Morgan felt it too. Her mind was clearer, faster. She could see patterns in data that she had missed before. But more importantly, she could feel the weight of responsibility that came with such gifts. "This is what they were afraid of," she said to as they stood in the ancient vault. "Not the technology, us, our potential." Was adapting quickly to his own awakening abilities. He had accessed the defense network with just a thought and understood its systems perfectly. He could feel every ship in orbit, track every weapon, predict every possible action. "I could stop them," he said quietly. "If they attack, I could disable every ship before they fired a single shot. I would not even hurt anyone, just turn off their weapons and engines." "But you will not," Lisa said. "No, because Brandon is right. The moment we use our power, even defensively, we become the thing they fear." Aboard the Eternal Horizon, Captain was reading through ancient texts, searching for answers. He found them in a historical record from 8,000 years ago, written by a scholar who had witnessed the end of the precursor era. The text described the humans not as conquerors or tyrants, but as reluctant heroes. They had tried to help everyone to solve every problem, but their solutions did not always work for species with different needs and values. Some humans had grown frustrated, believing they knew better than everyone else. The war had started not from evil, but from arrogance mixed with good intentions. "They were trying to save us," said aloud, "and that made them dangerous." X looked up from her own research. "Captain, I have been studying human biology. Their neural structure is unique. They form connections between brain regions that other species cannot. It allows them to see patterns and solutions that we miss, but it also means they experience the world differently than we do." "Different how?" "They feel things more deeply. They form emotional bonds across species barriers. They cannot help but care about others, even strangers. That is why they sealed themselves away. They could not watch the galaxy suffer without trying to fix it, and their attempts to fix things were causing more harm than good." Commander interrupted their discussion. "Captain, the Council is demanding action. They want us to either secure the human technology or destroy it. They will not allow such weapons to exist unchecked." "And if the humans refuse?" asked. "Then we have orders to use force." Before could respond, every sensor on his ship screamed an alarm. Something massive had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. Not one ship, thousands of them. The fleet was unlike anything in galactic records. The ships were dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predators, and they radiated an energy that made every living being feel a primal fear. "What is that?" demanded. Checked the ancient database, his heart sinking as he found a match. "The Void Fleet, the enemy the precursors fought 8,000 years ago. We thought they were destroyed." "They were not destroyed," the Sentinel AI's voice suddenly broadcast to all ships in the system. "They were driven into hibernation in dark space. They have been waiting for the barrier to fall." The Void Fleet began moving toward Earth, their weapons charging. Energy readings showed technology that corrupted space itself, turning matter into lifeless void. "All ships battle formations," ordered, his fear temporarily forgotten. "Protect the planet." "Wait," said. "Our weapons will not work against them. The precursors barely survived fighting them before." "Then what do we do?" On Earth, Brandon received the news. The galaxy's worst nightmare had arrived. An enemy so terrible that it had taken the most powerful civilization in history to barely contain them. Lisa contacted him from the vault. "Brandon, the AI says we can stop them, but it requires activating all the vault systems. It requires humans to use their full abilities. If we do that, we prove to the galaxy that we are as dangerous as they fear," Brandon said. "If we do not, everyone dies," Lisa replied. Brandon looked at the screens showing the approaching Void fleet. Then he looked at the faces of his staff, ordinary humans who were just beginning to understand what they could become. Appeared on another screen. "Director, I have accessed the defense network. I can activate the weapon systems with your authorization, but there is another option." "Tell me." "The vaults do not just contain weapons. They contain communication technology. Technology that works at the quantum level that can interface with any mind. We could try to talk to them." "Talk to them?" Brandon asked. "They are attacking us." "So were we once," said quietly. "Our ancestors attacked because they thought they were right, that their solutions were best. Maybe the Void Fleet is the same. Maybe they are not evil, just desperate." It was an insane idea, but it was also the most human idea Brandon had ever heard. When faced with an enemy, do not just fight, try to understand. "Do it," Brandon ordered, "but keep the weapons ready. If communication fails, we defend ourselves and the aliens who came here in peace." Nodded and closed his eyes. All across Earth, humans who had awakened to their abilities felt the call. Billions of minds joining together, not to fight, but to reach out. To ask one simple question. "Why?" The Void Fleet hesitated. For the first time in 8,000 years, something was speaking to them in a language they understood. Not words, but pure thought and intention. And what they felt was not aggression or fear. It was compassion. The Void Fleet stopped advancing. Thousands of dark ships hung in space, their weapons still charged but not firing. Through the quantum connection, and billions of other humans felt the response. It was not words, it was emotion, raw and ancient. Pain, loss, desperation, fear. The Void Fleet had once been a peaceful civilization called the Endless. Their star had gone supernova with almost no warning. In their final days, they created technology to save themselves, to convert their bodies into pure energy that could survive without matter. But the conversion was flawed. They became creatures that needed to feed on energy to exist, parasites that drained life from everything they touched. They hated what they had become, but they could not stop. Their hunger was endless. The precursors had fought them 8,000 years ago, driving them into dark space where there was nothing to feed on. The Void Fleet had hibernated there, slowly starving, until the barrier around Earth failed and they sensed a source of energy again. "They are dying," Lisa said, her voice filled with shock. "They are not attacking, they are trying to survive." Through the quantum link, spoke to them, not with words but with intention and understanding. "There is another way, let us help you." The response was immediate: disbelief, hope, suspicion. "You are the ones who imprisoned us. Why would you help?" "We are not the same humans. We have changed. We have learned, and we understand suffering." Opened his mind fully, sharing human history. The wars, the mistakes, the choice to give up power and start over. He showed them 8,000 years of humanity struggling to survive, learning from failure, building civilization from nothing. He showed them what it meant to choose mercy over revenge, understanding over fear. The Void Fleet absorbed the information. Then slowly they began to share their own story in return. The terror of watching their son die, the desperate attempt to save their children, the horror of realizing what they had become. Thousands of years of hunger and isolation, remembering what they used to be. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, watched in amazement as the hostile fleet simply stopped. No battle, no weapons fired, just two ancient enemies talking to each other. "What are the humans doing?" asked. "Something we should have tried long ago," said. "They are listening." Lisa worked frantically in the vault, guided by the Sentinel AI. The ancient technology was waking fully now, systems coming online that had slept for. She found what she was looking for in the medical archives. "The precursors studied the void transformation," she said. "They understood the problem. The energy conversion was incomplete, leaving the subjects trapped between states. But there is a solution." "Can we fix them?" asked through the quantum link. "We can stabilize them," Lisa said. Let them exist without needing to consume other life. They will not be what they were before, but they will not be parasites either. They can be something new. Shared this information with the Void Fleet. The response was overwhelming, emotions so strong they made every connected human gasp. Hope, desperate, aching hope. Please, we do not want to hurt anyone. We just want to exist without causing pain. Brandon gave the authorization. All across Earth, the vaults opened fully. Not weapons, but medical and scientific facilities. Technology that could reshape matter and energy at the quantum level. Humans worked together, millions of minds coordinating perfectly. They could feel each other's thoughts, building on each person's unique perspective. Engineers, scientists, artists, children, everyone contributed something. It was the most human thing imaginable, facing an enemy and choosing to heal them instead of destroy them. The process took hours. One by one, ships from the Void Fleet descended toward Earth, guided by human controllers. They entered the atmosphere, their dark hulls glowing as human technology washed over them. The transformation was beautiful. The corrupted energy stabilized, becoming self-sustaining. The Void creatures regained physical form, not their original bodies but new ones, adapted to exist in normal space. They would still need energy, but they could generate it themselves through fusion, like stars in miniature. The first transformed ship rose back into space, its hull now gleaming silver instead of void black. The being inside broadcast a single thought to every mind in the system. Thank you, thank you, thank you. More ships followed, each one healed, each crew restored. The grateful thoughts became a wave of emotion that swept across Earth and the orbiting fleet. Commander stood at his console, his weapons still armed but forgotten. He watched as his enemy was transformed into something new, something that could never threaten anyone again. They did it, he said quietly. The humans actually did it. Nodded, they did not fight the enemy. They solved the problem. That is what precursors did. That is what humans do. The last ship was transformed. The being that had led the Void Fleet, ancient and by of suffering, spoke directly to. We have a name again. We are no longer void. We are the reborn, and we are forever in your debt. Felt tears on his face. He had been ready to fight. The weapons had been there, waiting for his command. But instead of destroying an enemy, they had saved them. That is worth more than victory, he thought. The communication ended. The quantum link faded and found himself back in his own mind, exhausted but profoundly changed. The aftermath took days to process. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions. The 20 warships that had come to threaten Earth now served as witnesses to what had happened. Captain addressed the Council directly, his testimony broadcast to 600 worlds. I came to Earth expecting to find either primitives or hidden threats, he said. Instead, I found something the galaxy had forgotten, true wisdom. The humans had the power to destroy us all. They chose not to use it. When faced with an enemy, they chose understanding over violence. He paused, looking at the council members. The precursors were dangerous because they tried to help everyone, whether those beings wanted help or not. These humans are different. They do not force their solutions on others. They offer their gifts freely and respect the choices of others. They have learned what their ancestors could not. Power must serve wisdom, not the other way around. The vote was close. Many council members were still afraid. But in the end, they accepted Earth's petition to join galactic society. With conditions. Brandon read the agreement carefully. Earth would be welcomed as an equal member of the Galactic Council. Humans would be allowed to travel the stars, to share their unique perspective and abilities. But the vault technology would remain sealed except in emergencies. And humans would never force their help on others, only offer it when asked. We can accept these terms, Brandon said. He had no desire to repeat the mistakes of the past. Dr. Lisa Morgan became Earth's first ambassador to the Council, working with Captain to build bridges between humans and the hundreds of other species. Her unique perspective, her ability to see patterns and connections others missed, made her invaluable in diplomatic negotiations. Colonel Price restructured Earth Defense Forces into something new. Not warriors but guardians, trained to protect, to rescue, to help. The weapons remained sealed in the vaults, waiting for the day they might be needed again, but hoped that day would never come. The Reborn, the former Void Fleet, became Earth's first true alien allies. They settled on the moons of Jupiter, building cities of crystal and light. They shared their own technology freely, grateful for the chance to exist without causing harm. Greg Williams, the civilian engineer who had helped during the crisis, became one of many humans who chose to work with the new technologies, not to build weapons, but to solve problems. Clean energy, food production, medical advances. Human creativity applied to making life better for everyone. Years passed. Earth changed, but not in the ways the ancient precursors had changed. Humans did not build massive fleets or reality-bending weapons. They built schools and hospitals. They sent teachers to other worlds, not conquerors. They offered solutions to problems, not ultimatums. And slowly, the galaxy's fear turned to respect. One evening, Brandon stood with Lisa and on a platform orbiting Earth, watching ships from a dozen different species arrive for a cultural exchange. Humans and aliens learning from each other, sharing ideas and perspectives. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Brandon asked, opening the vaults, revealing who we are. "We did not have a choice," Lisa said. "The truth would have come out eventually. Better to control how it happened than to let others discover it." Smiled, "Besides, look at what we accomplished. We turned an enemy into allies. We proved that humans could be trusted with power, and we did it without firing a single shot." "The precursors would be proud," Brandon said. "No," Lisa said gently. "They would be amazed, because we did something they could never do. We admitted we do not have all the answers. We asked for help. We worked with others as equals instead of trying to fix everything ourselves." She was right. The ancient humans had been powerful but isolated, convinced they had to solve every problem alone. Modern humans had learned to collaborate, to listen, to accept that sometimes the best solution comes from working together. A ship arrived carrying students from 6 different worlds, all coming to study at Earth's universities. Humans would teach them about creativity and problem-solving. They would teach humans about patience and different ways of thinking. Brandon watched them disembark, young beings from across the galaxy coming together to learn. "What do you think the next generation will build?" he asked. Shrugged, "Something better than we can imagine. That is what humans do. We adapt, we create, we improve. Not because we are powerful, but because we never stop trying to be better." Far below, on Earth's surface, construction continued on a new monument. It would stand in Geneva, visible from orbit. The inscription was simple, carved in hundreds of languages for all species to read. "We buried our strength so we could build our character. We sealed away our power so we could learn wisdom. Now we offer both freely, not as masters but as friends. This is humanity's promise. Never to rule, only to help. Never to dominate, only to understand. We remember what we were so we never forget what we chose to become." The monument would serve as a reminder, not just to other species but to humans themselves. Power was easy to claim. Wisdom was hard to earn, but only wisdom could make power worth having. As the sun set on Earth, casting golden light across oceans and continents, Brandon felt at peace. The vaults were still there, deep beneath the surface. The technology still waited. The power still existed. But it was no longer buried in fear. It was held in trust by people who understood its weight and had proven they could carry it responsibly. The galaxy had feared the return of the precursors. Instead, they got something better. They got humans who had learned from the past, who chose wisdom over power, who understood that the greatest strength was knowing when not to use strength at all. Earth was no longer isolated. The forgotten power was no longer buried in shame. Both had been awakened, transformed, and made into something new. Something that gave the galaxy hope for a better future. And he told them the truth. "We need to make a decision," he said. "Do we tell them the truth, or do we hide it and hope they never find out?" Before anyone could answer, every screen in the room flashed red. An urgent alert from the Pacific Ocean monitoring station. "Seismic activity detected," the automated voice said. "Location, Ancient Burial Site 7. Depth, 6 kilometers below sea floor. Energy signature increasing. Warning, something is waking up." Brandon and Lisa locked eyes. The buried technology was activating. After 8,000 years of silence, something deep beneath the Earth had sensed the aliens' arrival. The sleepers were waking, just as the ancient warning had said they would. But what had been buried here, and who had buried it? The probe launched, descending toward the blue planet below. Within hours, they would have their answer. Just hoped they would survive long enough to report it back to the Council. On the Earth hung in space like a jewel, beautiful, vibrant, and full of secrets that had been sealed away for 8,000 years. Secrets that were about to be revealed, whether the galaxy was ready for them or not.